Hello, hello, hello. Welcome and happy Thursday. This is the last Thursday of June. I hope everyone's having a great month and a great quarter as well. As usual, want to present you our host organization and really excited about another class that we have AJ back here to talk about the closing process. The importance of coordinating the transaction and making sure it gets closed so we all get paid. Quick words about our host organization, Real Estate IQ. One of our core products is the off-market leads, where we basically generate leads for you. These are cold leads. They're all motivated sellers. And as you know, any kind of business starts from marketing, and marketing starts from lead generation and lead capture. And so this is kind of the starting point of your lead generation campaign. All right. The next slide, please. Just a disclaimer: we always have this in a lot of our webinars. Basically, we don't offer investment, financial, legal advice. Everything is kind of for education purposes only. So next, let's welcome AJ back on stage. AJ, welcome. And we're going to talk about everything it takes to close. And so really excited about that. I got my notebook ready. I hope everybody has it as well. AJ, please take it away. Welcome back.
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you doing today? All right. So today we're just going to touch on just the whole transaction coordination and getting the deal across the finish line. If you hear me clearing my throat a little bit, my daughter got me sick. So sorry about that. But transaction coordination is one of the most important parts. And then when you bring someone into your organization, if you do decide to grow, it's probably the first part you want to fill first, because there's availability and people that are trained to do it. And then it could just take a lot of stuff off your plate that is not sales related, so your mind stays sales focused. So as we go through this today, we're just going to talk about a basic cash contract, selling it as an assignment and getting that closed. And then at the end, if you guys have questions about like creative stuff or novations or those things, we can discuss that a little bit. But to recap, what is the whole overview of assignment process? So we talked about acquisitions. Go out, negotiate a deal with a lead, get it under contract. You send them a cash as is contract. You take that contract, you open up escrow. At the same time, you start looking for a buyer. We talked about dispositions and kind of some ideas of how you're going to get a buyer. Once you get a buyer, then you send that buyer an assignment agreement. And we'll look at what an assignment agreement is here in a little bit. So you have the cash contract between you and the seller, and then you find the buyer, you send him or her an assignment agreement. Say you have a cash contract for $100,000. You agreed with your buyer that he would buy it for $110,000. Your assignment agreement says purchase price $110,000, and it gives directions for the escrow company that, hey, the difference between this contract and this assignment, that difference in the middle is your assignment fee. After you get it assigned, you just got to babysit a bunch of stuff to make sure it gets closed. So when you get a contract or any paperwork, I'd suggest don't let it sit in your email box. Save it to a folder. We use Google Workspace, so every property that goes under contract or CRM automatically opens a folder where we save contracts, assignments, title reports, all that stuff, because you'll get lost just even having 2 deals going back with all the paperwork that's involved. Like that just pops up. If you pay for something, save the invoice. things like that. So you got the contract. You need to open up escrow, right? How do you find a title company? What is escrow? What is title? What are attorney states? So most states are considered not attorney states. Some are considered attorney states. So I believe like New York, Oklahoma, places like that, places I don't want to do deals in, you actually have to use an attorney to close the process, whereas everywhere else uses an escrow company. And the escrow company has a relationship with a title company, and the title company is what does the title search and looks for liens and things like that. The escrow company and the escrow officer is the one who facilitates the EMD, the purchase, taking all the paperwork as like pages of a cookbook and of a recipe, and then making that recipe until it gets closed. How do you can you use any escrow company? No, not for this stuff. So if it's in an area that you're not familiar with or haven't worked a deal there, or if it's your very first time, I suggest reaching out to other investor groups or friends you have, Facebook groups, whatever. Hey, I got a deal in this area. Can anyone recommend a title company that's investor friendly? Okay, you get that referral. You're going to call the title company, straight up tell them, hey, I'm a wholesaler. I have a contract or a property under contract. It's going to be an assignment. Are you guys familiar with this process? If they start asking questions, who and Han, you know what, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I'll circle back with you, or it's not a good fit because you're a lead to them, to these escrow companies. So they want your business, but if you get a bad escrow and title company, it will ruin your deal. So things you want to ask is, obviously, are you familiar with assignments? Are you familiar with novations, if that's the case? Are you familiar with double closes? And then the second thing I always ask, do you do blind HUDs? Blind HUDs meaning the seller gets their settlement statement, the buyer gets their settlement statement. This is important because your assignment fee will end up on the buyer's statement. Only they will see their fee. So the buyer on the front end won't see that. So they won't get pissed at the closing table, right? Because they don't understand. Like, we solve problems. There's a lot of things that go on behind the curtain that they just aren't seeing. And so if they see that you're making $15,000, well, they might get pissed off. The buyer, if he sees you're getting $15,000, well, it is what it is. He's got non-refundable EMD. And if he doesn't like it, he can cancel or move forward with the deal. Hopefully, as we talked about in dispositions, you vetted that buyer, you built a little bit of rapport, you made sure the numbers were good for him, and he's not like back and forth, like, hey, am I going to get bid on this deal? He's like, nope, I want this deal. Numbers work for me. Great. If a buyer's squawking at your feet, never work with that buyer again. So now that we talked about a little bit, okay, how are we going to find that title company? Overall, I suggest the company Closed Title. You can look them up, closedtitle.com. They're in a lot of states. So if you actually go to their website, closedtitle.com, their logo has a map of the US. And any state that is highlighted dark, I think it's dark blue, those are the states they operate in. And they're fast. Usually, like, getting a title report back, it takes like a week, 7 to 10 days. The last one we did with them, they got it back in 3 days. And their communication's great. So I have really good things to say about them at this point. So got the contract. Awesome. Now we got to open up escrow and submit EMD. You need to make sure you submit EMD because that contract is not considered binding unless EMD is in. So if the seller tries to flake on you, cancel, and you've already put in like picture money and you trashed out some stuff, or, you helped with their grocery, whatever, and they decide to ghost you because someone else offered $500 more on the contract. Well, you say, hey, no, we had a legal binding contract, and they'll ask, hey, did you submit EMD? Yes. Okay, cool. On EMD, on the contracts, I put $100. Sometimes they squawk at it when I go through the contract and it says EMD $100, and they're like, hey, what is that? This is actually really common in the investor world. $100 is pretty standard. You actually see them as low as $10. This is just to make this a binding agreement that escrow will take seriously when they get it, or else they'll kick it back. We do have multiple properties under contract, and when we use cash, it's really hard money or private money, and we're paying anywhere from 12 to 18% on that money. So if we put a couple $1,000 down EMD on every property, well, we're just lighting money on fire for no reason. And to be fully transparent, we do have an inspection period here that's 14 days that our EMD is completely refundable in that time anyways. We need to get in and make sure everything we talked about is what it is. Now, you've been you've been straightforward with me, so I'm pretty confident we're not going to have any issues. And usually they're, oh, okay, and then move forward. Now, if they kick it back, and they're like, I don't really feel comfortable with that. And if it's a good deal, well, buckle up and put good EMD down. Just make sure it's protected with your inspection period in your contract. Now, simultaneously, right when we didn't really talk about this that much in dispositions, but right when you get the contract, you got to get the ball rolling and selling it, right? So you got to coordinate getting pictures and getting that thing marketed. So pictures, you can, if the seller is cool, if they're not, elderly and not familiar with smartphones, you can try to get them to send them pictures. Send you some pictures. Usually I say, hey, it's just for us to limit some foot traffic so we can coordinate who we need to get out there and get an initial look at it, things like that. If you got to be very careful though, because a lot of times people could take pictures, but they'll take a video like this and stop right here, and then right here is a hole in the drywall, but they stopped and didn't show you. So I hardly have sellers send pictures unless it's like something we really need to look at. Like we have a property under contract that just got popped for no permits for an addition, but he has a bunch of pictures from construction, things like that. So yeah, send those in. You can coordinate to have someone sent out. I like TaskRabbit. You can get someone scheduled. You can instruct them, hey, make sure you're a representative of my company. We're familiar with working with each other. You're not just hey, I just showed up, I don't know what to do. You got to coach them on the front end. A second company that will literally do like anything you guys need, if they need to go over and like sweep the floor, right? Anything, right? Investor boots. Boots with a Z at the end. They started off as a notary company. It grew into kind of like an all-in service for investors. So you can go in, you can hire an inspector, you can literally do anything, like a special request. They're a little bit more expensive, but they'll get the job done. Now, if you need like nice listing pictures for like a novation, like you're putting on the MLS, you can use HomeJab. HomeJab's a good picture go-to place for professional photography. And then you start marketing it as soon as possible. So you're doing that, you're opening up escrow, a lot of things going on right in the beginning. Great. You got a buyer. Like I said, your inspection period ours is 2 weeks. Sometimes if it's something like the permit issue where we don't know, I'm working with the city to see what's going on, where it's at, what we need to do. I made that inspection period 21 days. It gives us an extra week to figure out the permit stuff. So my process is 14 days. I have 7 days marketing, and then gives me an idea if I'm going to sell it. If I have to make some pivots, then I have 7 more days to figure that out. But if it's going to go past that 14 days, I'm not going to drag the seller on. We're going to start marketing it lower. We're going to get an offer, and then we're going to go back for a price reduction. We're not going to go, hey, this isn't working. I'm not getting an offer at this price. I think it will sell for 20 grand less. Let me go talk to the seller first. And then you go back, you market it, and you're like, oh no, it actually needs to be 40 grand less. So that 2 weeks gets you an idea of where it needs to sell at if it's not selling. And then part of that 2 weeks, you get an offer the best you can. Then you go back and get the price reduction that makes sense based on the offer you got. Now, if you're not getting anything, well, then maybe you need to pivot to innovation or creative, or just cancel all in one. And you want to be cognizant of, speaking of cancellation, you want to be cognizant of canceling on these title companies a lot. If cancellations happen, we try to keep it under 30%. A lot of people are a lot higher than that. But you don't want to burn these title companies because they're going to not want to work with you. Or some of them, like Oklahoma, you'll likely get charged a fee sometimes if you cancel on them, just because the way the state's set up. So you don't want to get bit with a cancellation fee, and you also don't want to burn people's time because that makes you look bad. So if you're going to send it, make sure you're going to close on the deal. You're pretty confident. If not, just understand that it's a pain in the butt and just be respectful of that. Let's see. Transaction coordinator. Like I said, TCs are super valuable. It's like one of the first things that you should plug into your business. I made the mistake of bringing in acquisitions people in the front end. And instead of hiring a TC right out the gate, I handled the TC and dispositions myself. Well, turns out a lot of salespeople, you're going to go through 9 of them to find one good one if you look through 10. And it might take more than 10 to even find a good acquisitions guy. So, yeah, I learned that lesson. TCs, though, you can do it yourself. You can use companies like Easy, REI. David Knowles is the owner of that company. The guy's been around for a long time, very knowledgeable. They do packages. So like, if you're doing consistent deals, you're like, hey, I can buy a package for 5 cash deals or something like that, then give you a discounted rate. You can also go into like Pace Morby's creative group and look for a top tier TC. So if you're doing a cash deal, you can pay a TC like $300 to $500, something like that, and they'll handle pretty much all that process. If they need something from the seller, they'll get it. You won't even hear about it. You can get back on the phone and get the next contract. If it's something creative, Easy REI does that as well. But if you go into the creative group for Pace Morby, there's a lot of top tier TCs. That's their training program. Currently, I have an in-house TC now. We help pay for her to go through the top tier TC program. And then we got her into the sub 2 to learn all the creative stuff. And it's the best hire that I've done. It's bar none. Saves a lot of time and headache. Just sending addendums, things like that, takes your mind out of the sales and then into the paperwork. And you're like, oh, got to go back to the sales. Yeah, you'd probably pay cash like $300 to $500. Top tier TCs, they're ridiculously charging way too much. And again, you got to vet these people as much as you're vetting your title company, your buyers, everything, because it's a whole fake it till you make it industry. They do a training and then they got to go market themselves so they sound like an expert. And I've been there with poor TCs that will break a deal because of miscommunication, filing the wrong paperwork. And once, especially on sub twos, like once the paperwork's done, you can bite the seller and the buyer in the ass 5 years from now without even knowing it. So just vet them. Easy REI does creative stuff as well. So look at them. Yeah. So, I mean, I want to pull up my paperwork real quick just to run through and reiterate some things here to protect your end. So when I get a cash contract here, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Okay, guys, this is my paperwork library. Just a quick rundown of our agreements and some things that might stand out and help you, just so you know, hey, you got to put this in there. So earnest money, like I said, we only do 100. Okay, inspection and access to the property. When we send a contract, we never just, I will never just, I take it back. Sometimes I do. But typically, you don't want to just send it and say, okay, I'll circle back with you after you read it. Or if they say, oh, send it to me, I'll read it later. No. Okay. The only time I do that is if I have a really good rapport with someone and I know it's going to happen. We're going to get the contract no matter what. But that's just an objection in the sales process. It's, hey, you know what? It's company policy that I read through this together. You don't have to sign it on the spot. No pressure. We don't do those slick sales pressure tactics, but we do have to read it through with you just so we're available to answer any questions on the spot. So as I run through this with them, you're probably going to get hit with the earnest money if it's only $100, but gave you a kind of an out on that one. If they squawk edge, hey, no problem. Yeah. What do you want on there? Standard real estate is 1 to 3% of the purchase price. So, throw in 1%. Is $1,000? Does that work for you? Oh, okay, great. But it's all going to be protected in this inspection period. Now, we do 14 days. You can do 14 business days, whatever. You do 21. But make sure you're keeping track of those days. So, and then this is the inspection. When we get down to talk about this, hey, we are going to get in. We're going to need to get in to get initial pictures. We're going to bring those back. And if we're transparent, I try to be as transparent 90% of the time. It kind of works out to where I can actually say, hey, look, we're going to shop this between the investors and try to get you the highest cash offer we can. To do that, we're going to have to get in and get some pictures. If it's a situation where you're in the sales process and they're like, no, I'm only working with the end buyer. Like me right now, I want to buy a dump trailer for, because I spend a lot of money on dump trailers for projects. So I'm like, it's time we just buy one and add it to the fleet, tax write-off. But I'm going straight to the manufacturer. I'm cutting out the sales guy that's going to charge me an extra $2 to $3 grand. So there are those people that do that. So sometimes you're like, you just don't lie to them and tell them that you're the buyer, but don't elaborate on the process. If that's the case, just say, hey, we're going to get in, get some pictures so we can limit traffic coming through with different contractors or investment partners that we work with, things like that. So, and then EMD, this is important. It says that your EMD can be released within your inspection period without having the seller sign anything. Because a lot of escrow companies will say, hey, you got to have the seller sign too, especially in California. Well, this says that we don't need their permission to release our EMD back to us if we're within our inspection period. As is, I kind of emphasize that to get them feeling good about it. Let's see here. Assignment, you got to have the assignment in there. They'll sometimes ask about the assignment. Hey, you know what? Easy Exit's our marketing company. Depending on what we do with it, we'll likely close in another LLC. Okay, cool, no problem. And that's pretty much it. Let's see here. You know what? On that one, that was an old one, but it didn't have. This is like our library, but we have all the docs loaded into our CRM. So some of these are a little, got get deleted. That one actually has to get deleted. But with the closing cost, it's pretty standard in this industry that we pay 100% closing costs. And the reason is, that's kind of like with the sales thing. Hey, no hidden fees, no nothing, blah, blah, blah. So it's always 100% by the buyer, and you got to make sure you communicate that with your end buyer, because not all of them know that. It's the culture, but not everybody really knows it 100%. Sometimes you got to credit the buyer out of your assignment fee for closing costs if it's just that kind of deal. Okay, got the cash contract, sent it over to escrow, and then now we got an assignment agreement, right? So this is the assignment agreement we're going to send over to the end buyer. Hey, I want the deal, blah, blah, blah. One more thing, close of escrow, I put for cash on or before 30 days. Okay. If it's a novation, it's going to be longer. I put on or before 45 business days. If it's we typically do on or before 30 business days. Sorry about that. So now, great. We got a buyer putting it in. Like I said, original contracts for 100, assigning purchase price 110, put in our title company, earnest money. We make them put $5,000. If the deal is really skinny or something like that, or we're comfortable with the people and repeat buyers, we'll let them put in $2,500. But their EMD is non-refundable unless title can't be cleared. But if they back out for any reason, their EMD is non-refundable. Close of escrow date, I do not put on or before 30 days on this. I say, hey, how long do you need to close? Your hard money, your private money, whatever, you're ready to go. You're closing 7 days. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 weeks. If they say, hey, hard money is like usually a week and a half. Okay, I'm going to give you like 2.5 weeks. But I try to keep it under the underlying contract close date. That's why it says on or before, because say I get a buyer in the first week, I give them 2 weeks to close. So I push out close of escrow to that date, and then they back out. Okay, well then it gives me a week to repivot with the seller. So if I got to find another buyer, at least I have a week. I could plug them in and say, hey, by the way, I'm sorry, it's getting delayed. We're going to be delayed 2 weeks. By the way, here's some money for the inconvenience. We'll release this to you ahead of time. So you have that non-refundable EMD from the buyer that backed out. You can compensate the seller a little bit for the inconvenience, and should be okay. This just says the difference in the price. Now, this is another important thing. Don't get caught up in this. When you JV deals, there's 2 ways to do it. If say you have this contract and someone else brings a buyer, there's the JV agreement where you guys are going to split your assignment, and you send this directly to the end buyer. You don't send it to the JV partner. You send it direct to the end buyer, and you click this. You click this box. This agreement is not assignable, meaning it can go to them and it can't go anywhere else. Now, if it's a daisy chain, which is other than JVing, you're sending it to someone who has a buyer. You're sending this assignment to them. You're clicking this agreement is assignable. So it goes from you to them, and then they send their assignment agreement over to the end buyer. They stack their fee on top with their assignment. So you're not splitting your fee. That's a pain in the ass. And I'm going to tell you right now that it's a bad culture. Investor Lift realized it created a bad culture with their charging $40K a year for their higher platforms, because then it created this daisy chain culture. And that's why Investor Lift came out with their free program. Pace Morby just came out with this new clickbait sales stuff, talking about bird dogging, and bird dogging is an old term. I feel like these people just go through this Rolodex, and as soon as it gets to the end of it, they just start over. Oh, bird dogging. Let's make content on bird dogging. And now bird dogging, he's saying, hey, you have never gotten a deal. You have no experience. You're going to go out and talk to a bunch of buyers. You don't know how to vet those buyers. You're going to bring that buyer and connect him with other wholesalers, and you're going to stack a $5,000 fee on top. I'll tell you right now, this just blew up on a deal that we are doing, and it pissed me off so bad that we pretty much canceled the whole thing, because these inexperienced people, is for a subject to deal that I really need to vet these buyers to make sure that they're going to perform on this mortgage and not screw my seller over. So there's that. You can't vet them as good. Two, it dilutes the deal, because now you don't know what fee they're stacking on top. This is a tiny assignment. I was helping the seller out, hope, get a good review, make a couple bucks, cool. And they stacked on a $5,000 fee, and then they're inexperienced. So their buyer is coming asking for concessions for certain things and pushing close of escrow. And I don't have that direct communication to pretty much tell these buyers, no, this is the deal. This is what we have to do. Take it or leave it. Because what they don't see is that I actually made the mortgage payment for the seller for June. So I'm like, yeah, no, we're not making it for July. You guys need to close on this. But the middleman is inexperienced. But here they are, they're sitting on quiet, making a $5,000 fee when it's their responsibility for really doing nothing, like not much, but it's their responsibility. Hey, if their buyer is asking for a couple $100 concessions, it's not a big deal, but it's your buyer. Like, you negotiate that with them. Our agreement between us is at this price, this close date. If you can't meet that, well, you got to fix it on your end. So just be careful with making daisy chains and agreements assignable. I just say always don't do it. But what I did have added here is saying that if this agreement gets reassigned, you have to give us and escrow the additional people, the additional buyers, assignees. You have to give us all of their contact information. We need to go direct with them. We're not looking at backdooring people and cutting people out on fees and things like that. But we also want to protect our brand, our sellers, and make sure this deal gets closed. And then we've also added this cancellation clause. We can cancel this agreement at any time for no reason whatsoever. If you don't like it, don't sign it. It's not in our interest to cancel it, but if we assign it to an end buyer, and on subject twos, we'll do a brief background check on the buyer to make sure they're not like a criminal or defaulting, taking over on this mortgage. If we find that stuff after it gets assigned, we're going to cancel on you. We don't trust that you can perform this. We're going to cancel. Or, we don't want them to be holding us hostage in this agreement up until closing almost, because we know they're not going to be able to perform. Their lending fell through, something happened, and we know that. But they're like, oh, my $5,000 isn't refundable, so I'm just going to hold you hostage and screw you until I can. Okay, well, we're going to cancel. And then this does say if we choose to exercise this, then we'll refund your E&D. So got to be fair. So that's assignment straight up. Now, when you send it to the title company, I mentioned something about a deal in Northeast Maryland where it was a novation. I got it pretty much marketed and locked up and sold within like 3 days or something like that. Came in almost over a weekend, locked it up with the end buyer, over asking. Like, it was a phenomenal deal, super easy. Too easy, because then we got the title report back, and it's from title company, which, like I said, usually takes 7 to 10 days. Sometimes now we're getting it quicker, but we got it back, and we see the ex-wife or soon to be ex-wives on the report. And she doesn't want to sell that. We reached out and she's like, yeah, I'm not selling. So she now moved into that home because she said the husband abandoned it because he moved out so it can be staged and marketed and stuff like that. And he already bought another place and she was living somewhere else and she snuck her stuff in and said he abandoned it. So always make sure that, that you know the proper ownership before you spend any money on marketing and stuff like that. Because we did lose money in pictures and inspections, things like that. But there will, I think I mentioned other things. There's going to be stuff that pops up in title reports too. This is really where a TC's knowledge comes into play, because these things got to get fixed to get across the finish line. We got this deal in Lake Worth Beach, Florida right now. A lot of permit issues. I've been there, done that myself with permit stuff. So I'm familiar with like doing retro permits. So we're going to solve these permit issues. The seller actually was going to get hit with a fee starting today of $75 a day if he didn't pay an extension. He couldn't get through with the code enforcement office about when the expiration or the deadline was to get a fee paid. So that didn't start happening. It was like an extension fee. So we had to pretty much jump through a bunch of hoops and email a lot of people, call a lot of people, who's who in the zoo with the city, and then finally found the right person in the building department, right person, code enforcement. We got them, everybody talking, and we got it extended and looking like we'll probably be able to get this thing sold. But in a nutshell, I think I ran on quite a bit. I would like to open it up for some questions, because I have a feeling a lot of people have some questions about I'm already going to call it novations.
Okay, AJ, thank you. Got a couple of questions here.
If you hear my kid screaming, sorry, she's the one that got me sick. So we're both in the hurt box a little bit.
Hold on. You know, when I saw the comments, I thought it wasn't your kids. I didn't hear your kids. I thought, but then I heard it. Okay. How long does it take for a wholesale deal to go from start to finish?
Like I said, our normal process is we put 30 business days, but it's really 30 days. We use the first 2 weeks to market, lock down a buyer. Hopefully we can do it. We can get a buyer within the first 7 days, and then we leave 2 to 3 weeks to close. So that's a hard thing to look at. Hey, start to finish, because, you know, I don't know your experience level, but you got to kind of zoom out a little bit, right? Like if you've never gotten a deal, well, start to finish is pulling a list or buying leads, doing marketing, you know, getting a contract. Might take you 6 months to get your first contract. As soon as you get your first one, then it's, you know, everything kind of goes pretty smoothly after that. And then it's the 30 days to close that deal.
Got it. Another 30 days. All right. And when you were reviewing the agreements, AJ, we saw that your paperwork library was very extensive.
Yeah, we're going through cleaning it up a little bit. So some stuff's going to get deleted.
What are some critical items when you go over the items? Or do you just go over every single item in the paperwork?
I do go over each section. Like, are you talking about in the contract?
Yeah.
I do go over each section, but I do not sit there and spell it out word for word. Move fast.
Yeah.
In the beginning, hey, I'm going to read this. Okay, you got your email open? Okay, cool. You open that up. Let me know if you see the first page with the address and stuff on it. Okay, got it. All right. I'm going to breeze through this. It's pretty straightforward. We keep it simple. There's no clause in here that are going to, you know, record anything on your house. I don't do memorandums. Used to. I took that out because it was always getting kicked back and I hated explaining it. Now, if I'm going to lend money on something or if I have to put like $2,000 into fixing something to sell a deal, well, yeah, I'm going to send the seller a memorandum, an addendum, and then put a memorandum in place to cloud title so they can't back out and I lose my money. But yeah, it's simple. Start, hey, we're going to run through this real quick. Stop me if you have any questions, okay? Address, purchase price, inspection period, EMD, and then you pretty much just go through like, hey, lead-based paint disclosure, this is in every contract. Inspection period, we're just going to have to get in there initially to get some pictures. We'll come back. We'll try to use those pictures the best we can so we prevent additional foot traffic, but likely we probably got to get in there 2 to 3 times. And then, yeah, pretty much just as fast as that.
Let me kind of focus on the more focused questions here first.
I don't want people to think that all this paperwork library is like what we send out. Like, no, it's very, very much smaller. Like all these are things that we've just built over time. So, I mean, our sub 2 contracts are really long, but our cash contracts are like, I think 2.5 pages here. And then our assignments are 2 pages. So yeah, we try to keep it really tight. Yeah, it's only 1, 2, 3 pages, 3 pages and signatures. But it's all repetitive stuff. It's like no oral changes or represent. Okay, hey, if we talk about something needs to change, just know you're going to get an addendum email. It's for escrow. Assignment. Hey, this is our marketing company, easy exit, but we do close on our properties like turnout property investments, things like that. Notices, this ties back to no oral changes. We could talk about everything, but unfortunately, handshake agreements don't work anymore. So we just got to put it in writing to get to escrow for instruction. And that's literally as fast as I go. And they just sit there. And then at the bottom of the first page, I say, hey, look, you don't have to sign at the bottom. This doesn't, you're not signing life away, but you might initial in that bottom of the first page. We do have some tech issues. I just want to make sure we don't have to close this and resend it and change anything. Okay, great. And they'll initial it. And as I'm reading it, they'll usually initial the bottom pages as they feel comfortable. So if they don't initial, then I know I'm not answering all their questions or they aren't going to be moving forward right there.
Yeah, they have some hesitation. And which tool do you use? It sounds like you're using a signature tool that you going over with them.
Yeah, so I'll share. I use my CRM actually. I used to use DocHub, which is okay. DocPanda is another one, but I now use our CRM, which is great.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
You have to pay another monthly subscription.
Yeah. And it's getting better. It was kind of archaic in the beginning. So my TC's going through and cleaning this up as like currently right now. But this is like our templates right here. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Okay. So like our cash contract, I'll just go here. I uploaded the PDF and then we can click. It's super simple. Like if we needed to add a text field, you just, add a text field. And then this also has things to where if I plugged in a contact, you can do automations to where it automatically plugs in addresses, stuff like that. We just haven't gotten there. But as you can see, it's all like the check boxes are already pre-checked. But I'll just, use template. It'll create a copy of it. And this is pretty much it. Super simple. And then you can hit send. You can send it by text or by email, which is super nice.
Okay.
And then as it's sent out and you're kind of trying to look at activity or what's going on, you can look at this, like, look at this. This is an assignment that one of the partners, we're having problems with them signing and it's driving me nuts. See, one partner signed, the other one didn't. And her communication is not great.
Right.
So they already have EMD in. So if they back out, they're not getting it back because we've already compensated them enough. And it's honestly just started to drive me crazy. So, yeah.
Could you go over the assignment? I was going to ask about the assignment and the novation agreement.
Yeah. So assignment agreement. So assignments, very simple, right? So assigner, this is going to be the assignee. I would like to use template, so I don't change this. Okay. Assignee, assigner, assignee is the buyer, right? Property address 123 Main Street, APNs like the social security number of the property, assignee purchase price. Imagine we have the original contract at 100K, we're selling it for a 10K assignment, 110,000. Escrow company, closed title. Contact is Linda Kahn, and I will add her phone number and then her email. Assigning earnest money, we're going to do $5,000. Close of escrow date, I'm going to look at the calendar, pick the right date, put it on there. Now, EMD, this contract, so you can send an assignment to a buyer, and if they don't have EMD in the next business day, at the end of the next business day, we'll start looking for another buyer. And do not stop marketing your deal until EMD is in. This EMD is called consideration. Contract is not binding unless there's consideration. So they don't have EMD in, this contract means nothing.
Right.
And very transparent with the buyers about that. If you don't have EMD in, this deal is not coming off our marketing. So that's pretty much, initial, that's nothing. Time. Okay. So EMD, this just says your EMD is non-refundable unless we can't clear title or we cancel and this cancellation cause, we'll refund it. Now, I don't walk through this agreement with buyers. There should be professionals. I just send it. Hey, let me know if you have any questions. By the way, just so you know, that assignment is not binding until EMD is in. We can't stop marketing it. You got one business day to submit it. And I'll give them the respect of that. Hey, I'm not going to send an assignment to someone else. If say they submitted EMD today and then, sign that agreement like tonight and tomorrow morning, someone else came up, said, hey, I'll buy this, same price, something like that. Well, I'll do the first buyer a favor and hey, just so you know, we got someone else ready to sign. Are you going to get EMD in today? If not, then yeah, we're going to send out the assignment.
And AJ, let me ask you this: what if the buyer requests to change the closing date? For one reason or another. First of all, how do you handle that situation? And in the case that you say, okay, yeah, I'm good with it, and then there's a modification of the agreement, of course. How do you handle that?
Yeah, good question. So that's another reason why I try to get it lined up to where we have a little bit of flex room on our escrow date on the front end. Because if they do have to push it a couple days for, say, their lender or something like that is lagging, well, we have a little bit of room where we don't need to stir the pot over here. Now, if they're hey, if we took a little bit longer to get it assigned and now they really do need time for their hard money lender to fund it, well, we understand. So as long as we know they could perform, they have good EMD in, we'll work with them and then go back and kind of square it away with the seller to make sure everything lines up. Now, in our underlying agreement with the seller, we have a cure notice. So say that we were a little bit past the close of escrow date, our cure notice gives us 10 days to resolve anything. So if we go past that, at least we're protected on that aspect. Never had to do that. Usually, we have good rapport built with our sellers at this point, and they know some things are out of our control. If they're trying to push close of escrow to raise money for like private money, no, no, you got to be approved with hard money lender, things like that. Now we have buyers that always use private money, but I'm confident those buyers are going to get that private money within like the first week, or they already have it lined up. Now, if it's like 2 weeks into 2 weeks and they still don't have it, yeah, no, sorry, dude. And then it's up to you if you want to like let them say no and then them lose their EMD. You can negotiate with them. Hey, sounds like you're not going to be able to do this. It's not a good situation for us with the seller. We're happy to let you out of this contract. If they put $5,000 in, you can refund part of their EMD so you can get out in time to go remarket it, kick the seller some cash to make them happy. So you just got to stay flexible. Every situation is a little different.
Got it. Your sub 2 agreement, you said it's very long. Could you briefly go over that? And then we got a couple of questions related to sub 2.
Yeah. So I'm glad you asked about sub 2 because I see a lot of people doing some things that aren't good. You know what? I actually, this morning, I just deleted the sub 2 out of there because we just updated it like 2 days ago. So sub 2 contract. All right. So this is all from the sub 2 community. With a little bit of some things changed, make it appropriate stuff I want in there or whatever. So in sub 2, there's a sub 2 contract, there's a seller acknowledgement, and there's an addendum. All these go together, and it's a lot of repetitive stuff just to protect ourselves. If the seller ever went to court like 3 years down the road and said, or went to a lawyer and said, they didn't tell me the loan's going to stay in my name. Yes, we did. Actually, we mentioned it 15 different times in here, and we're on a recorded line. So it's really to protect you. Yeah. So subject to, run through this real quick, property address, APN kind of looks the same. Now, this is always going to be approximate, the purchase price, because you really don't know what the mortgage balance is. And it's never going to be exact. Like you can't get it down to the exact dollar until really the settlement statement comes out. So you just put the mortgage payment and then whatever cash you're giving them at closing, just add those two up. And it's approximate. I always check approximate. Earnest money, standard. So this is where we would put the approximate first mortgage. You try to get a statement, most recent mortgage statement from the seller. Use those numbers, put it in here. If they have a second, like a silent second lien, like a HUD lien, like they were in pre-foreclosure before, did a loan modification, and now there's $40,000 sitting in second position from HUD that just gets paid off the day the house sells. Well, sometimes, okay, that's going to be in second position. And then this is like seller carryback stuff, and then cash at close of escrow. So we'll take over your mortgage. We'll give you 10 grand. You happy? Cool. So you take all these numbers, add them up, and then it's going to be your purchase price, approximate. Close of escrow the same, closing attorney the same, party, seller, buyer, inspection periods, same, closing costs, all that stuff's the same. Personal property, hey, are you leaving anything behind? The fridge is one of them. That's always kind of like hit or miss if it goes, washer and dryer, things like that. The addendum acknowledgements that I mentioned right here, check those. Okay, so this is when we start getting repetitive. The following liens will not be paid off through close of escrow. We're going to put in whatever mortgage there is or liens on the property, a VA mortgage, very basic. Don't have to overthink it. If it's a pre-foreclosure and you got to reinstate some amount, you're going to put it right here. Now, I'm happy you asked about sub 2s because this is why. I'm happy. Wrap around financing. Okay. You can easily do a subject to with the home just transferring into the buyer's name, the mortgage staying in the seller's name. That's it, right? You move insurance, utilities, things like that. Now, what if this buyer defaults? How does the seller get the house back before the bank forecloses? Well, the seller doesn't have any legit documents in between to go to court, file list pendants, and foreclose on that buyer to get the property back before the bank can. Or they're stuck making the mortgage payment themselves, so the bank doesn't foreclose on it, but they can't get the house back. So we do mirror wraps. What it does is there's a promissory note from the bank, right? It's a promissory note secured by a deed of trust or mortgage on the property. We create a second, and the closing company should be able to do this, or they contract with attorneys that they use to do things like this if they don't do it in-house. So there's the bank's promissory note and mortgage. Then the seller gets one. We'll make a promissory note that pretty much is identical to this. It doesn't add anything onto it unless they're doing seller carryback, things like that. And they get their own promissory note and deed of trust secured over that. So they're kind of like, imagine like they're the bubble over that mortgage to where they can defend it and they can like, hey, I have a note on this property. I have a mortgage. I am the bank on this property. This borrower is not paying as agreed upon. I'm going to foreclose on them. So that gives them the power to do that. So I would always just check mirror existing loan, or if they're doing like some type of seller carryback, say like, okay, they're leaving the underlying mortgage, but I'm also going to seller finance $100,000 to them at $500 a month. Then, with the 10-year balloon, well, it's going to be hybrid. And in that note that they put over it, it's going to have those additional terms in there. And then at that point, when it gets complex like that, I would suggest using a servicing company. You can probably get one for 20 to 30 bucks. I've only done one hybrid deal that I took down myself, flipped, is in Houston. And I didn't use a servicing company because it was just short time. But if it's going to be a longer length, I'd suggest using a servicing company. People say Westar, you can get them for like 20 bucks a month or something like that. And they'll take all those, all the paperwork, and that's their direction to make sure everything gets done appropriately. Mm-hmm. But that's pretty much the meat and potatoes in this. Occupancy, it's just standard stuff. Hey, it's going to be vacant. It's going to be occupied. And then this is just standard contract jargon, same stuff, lead-based paint, as is purchase, close of escrow. There's our cure notice, 10 calendar days. And then, see, we got to take, you know what? We do leave memorandum in there in sub 2. We want everything. We want to protect, because we might do a lot of work to this property. And then these people are in financial distress today, but who knows where they are in a couple of years. They might be worse and pissed off at the world. So seller acknowledgements, this is just saying, hey, you own the property, you're agreed to the contract terms, and all this stuff is just repetitive. You're letting them know we're a wholesale buyer, we're not agents, fairly negotiated, you're not under the influence, we don't have a gun to your head, things like that. And then the subject to addendum is really important because it is going to require them to give us the information we need. And it also reiterates that the liens are not going to get paid off. We're going to need to know all these things like change of address, insurance information. If they file bankruptcy down the road, this property is to be excluded from that bankruptcy. This paperwork says that in there. These are things that are really, really important that people get bit in the ass down the road because they didn't use in-depth paperwork. So yes, this is really long. We don't sugarcoat anything in sub 2s. If it's not going to be a deal, if you have to sugarcoat it, just walk away. It's not worth it. But those are pretty much the big things. VA loan eligibility. VAs, they have great loan opportunities, benefits. They have eligibility, and that's doesn't mean, hey, they can only buy one house with no money down. They can buy more than one. It goes off of where they're buying, and pretty much counties have different buying power. So it's like a calculation that the VA has on the back end. You can actually call the VA and they will say, okay, what's your social security? Where's your house? Where are you looking to buy? Based off these counties, they allow this amount. You can buy a house theoretically, based on what you're telling me. You could buy a house up to $500,000 on your next one and keep that house. Just went through this process with a sub-2 deal. And that's pretty much it. So I know we're running out of time here. Do we have like 2 more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Novations, the buzzword. Okay. Novations, you need to make sure that one, the property is qualified. You're not going to have an issue with getting it across inspection finish line. You need to make sure the seller's qualified. I had a seller that came through our website yesterday that has a house that's listed on the market for like 200 days. The agent has dropped the price to $450,000. It started at like 470, so not a huge difference, but the comps are all over the place. Her home might sell at like 410. It might be priced appropriate now. I don't know. It's very transparent with her. Hey, look, we can do this as a discounted listing service to you. Here's what we do different than agents that are a benefit to you. But we also want to make sure if these offers come in lower, are you going to cancel, or will this work for you? I said, she kind of wasn't sure. I said, okay, say we got an offer for 440. Remember, she's listed at 450. You got an offer for 440. Would you take it? No. Okay, then you know what? I don't think we're a good fit. Best of luck. We did not move forward on that, because that's going to be us spending money and marketing expenses, and it's just not going to close. So how do you start the process for a novation? You get a cash contract. You get a cash contract, and then at the bottom, so let's see here. We're switching to something called an RBP program, which it's taught by another guru out there, but it's a little bit different than novations. Apparently the title or the escrow companies like the paperwork better. That's another level of stuff I'm not going to get into. But if we look at just standard novations, this is the flow, right? You got the cash contract, then you get this added to this bottom of the contract. It just says it's an AIF, attorney in fact. You can use a power of attorney. I think attorney in fact sounds less intimidating to the sellers. I put authorization to sign listing docs and offers. It's an agreement between seller and us related to this property, and it spells out that we can put this on the MLS, sign offers and disclosures and addendums, so we can navigate the whole thing. Now, we use the contract in this. We uploaded it to, you can use it, hire a listing agent, or I like to use flat fee listing services. So Baycom, Brokerless, upload it. They'll approve it. If they don't, they'll tell you why. And then you market it, right? Okay, now you get an offer. Now, when agents send in offers, they're sending it as a contract to you, where it's like, hey, you sign the contract and that's how you move forward, but you already have this cash contract in place. So how does that work? Okay, so what you do is you use a novation agreement. The novation agreement replaces this contract, which you have a contract pretty much just to protect your interest in this property until a new one comes along. Once that new one comes along, you with the POA can sign that offer, and then you have the novation agreement signed between you and the original seller. This novation agreement replaces that first one, And in this, it spells out, just similar to an assignment, the closing date. And you can do this in the front end too. We just do it at the end because we're transparent. Like, hey, we got an offer. Are we cool accepting this one? Okay, great. I'm going to send you the paperwork to accept it. So this is their way of accepting it. And what it says is here is net proceeds. Okay, so this is old, but net proceeds, seller shall retain the balance of, this was your contract price with them, the original cash contract with the seller. That price is going to go here. And then, so this is pretty much your new contract with the seller. And then now there's the contract with the end buyer, which would be an assignment, but it's actually typically a realtor contract. And then these are the two things you send to the escrow company. You send the novation and you send the new state approved contract to the escrow company. You don't need to send your cash contract. If you do, it's just going to confuse them because this is their directions. That cash contract is just to secure you in the front end while you're doing the marketing. And that's pretty much it for a novation. It's really not that hard.
Okay, we got some couple of questions here. Going back to sub 2, I guess I would read it as, what if you run into due on sale? How do you deal with sub 2?
So due on sale, I used to say it's really nothing to worry about, but some banks, especially with AI, they're getting more privy to it. I mean, just think about it. Pace Morby, Subject 2 has been around a lot, but Pace Morby is a master marketer and has blown it up over the last 5 years, and it's all over algorithms and YouTube and stuff. So yeah, it's going to be more made aware. Now you can structure deals on the front end to not exactly be a sub 2. You can do executory contracts, stuff like that, where the house stays in the seller's name. So you can do that, which avoids sub 2 overall. But there is TC companies that will remedy a due on sale for you for a fee. CreativeTC.com, I think, is one of them. It shows there on their website, they have like due on sale services. But another thing to do, which we're looking into doing from now on, is closing in a trust instead of into an LLC. From my understanding is that's a little less likely to get the due on sale clause called. Also, you can put that seller into the trust in some capacity, not to where it would affect the trust, but technically they're on it. So they're still part owner, that's something that we just haven't dug down into, but it's coming.
How do you fund your deals? How do you finance your deals?
Well, typically we're mostly wholesaling, but prior I was using most of my own capital, just from previous projects. HELOC, good question though about financing just business expenses overall. To answer your question, I would use my own cash, use HELOC. I have a good HELOC, but I also made some cash on flips and then wholesaling. So my bank account kind of been stacking my chips. So when I would do a project, if it's like a creative deal, I'm going to take down and it's going to be like 50 grand or under to close. Well, I'm just going to use my own cash. I'm at that point to where I'm going to start raising private money because I do want to scale some things in my business, but I am like super hedgehog focused right now on growing out the marketing and wholesaling side before moving into any other shiny object. But financing the wholesale stuff, it's expensive. Marketing is not cheap. Don't go out and swipe a 20% credit card. Make sure your credit is okay. Go out, get a 0% interest credit card for the promotion for 18 months. There's a lot of them right now, and use that to fund things. and then as soon as you can start building business credit, that's important too. So you don't want to ignore that. But yeah, 0% interest cards for 18 months. The idea is you could finance it, get a deal, and then pay it off before then. Yeah, that's a really good thing that you brought up.
We also have launched a funding program for funding deals, and that's what's new, AJ. We
Oh,
fund up to 100% of the purchase and rehab, and
oh,
then we also have liquidity program too. We can talk more.
oh, nice. Yeah, I got to hit you up for that then.
Yeah, and then anybody interested, fill out our funding form.
Yeah.
Last question here for the day, AJ. What marketing avenue have you found to be most successful?
Like, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Brent Daniels, but like he says, all roads lead to PPC. Google PPC is definitely the best. It's the PPC and SEO, like those go hand in hand. But yeah, those are absolutely the best when we're talking about lead quality, leads to contract count. Yeah, those are the best. In the front end, if you're just getting started and you're like, hey, I'll have 30 grand to build my PPC algorithm out and season my account, then I like SMS. SMS has gotten a little bit expensive and just, I think everything has gotten more expensive. So you kind of, I mean, it evens out. But cost per lead overall in the beginning, if you're really on it, probably SMS. But times have changed. So like you can sign on to Leadzillo and buy leads right away. Now, are they going to be successful if you buy the cheap ones? Hard to tell. Like you can go in and buy cold call leads for $15 a pop and you can burn through those all day. And I bet you probably won't get a deal. I mean, you might, but me, I ain't buying those. So when I do PPL, I'll do Leadzillo. I'll go into their marketplace and buy leads as they come in on certain ones that I know are specifically inbound generated leads only. They're called enriched web form inbound high motivated leads on Leadzillo. I'll kind of click and buy, 2 of those a day. They can be anywhere from $40 to $200. I only buy in certain areas that I want to wholesale in, and that's pretty good. Property leads is another one. That one you just go in, you set a bunch of counties, and you only bid the minimum. Don't pay $300 for a lead. Just set a lot more counties, not a lot, but you want to stay within areas Bid the minimum 125, and you'll get leads. It should be for new people, probably 1 in 20 leads is going to be a contract.
1 in 20 leads. Cool. Thank you. All right. Okay. Thank you, AJ. Really appreciate you sharing all your experience and knowledge. I hope everyone has learned a lot from the series of classes as well. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email us and we'll forward them to AJ.
Cool.
So real quick, if you guys have deals or leads, you can submit it over to us. And with AJ, I'm sure we can help you close the deals. And our next class, our next series, actually, AJ, is on funding. So just gonna talk about the different kind of funding. I think the big picture. So we talk about funding the deals, right? Which is more immediate. But then there's also funding our business. And the big picture is called a capital stack. We got to build a full-on capital stack for our business. So we're going to start diving into the different parts of the deal funding and also kind of the funding that you need to tap into to grow your business. So you can.
Perfect.
You can.
I'll be there.
Yeah. Okay. Same time for the next 3 weeks, I think.
Sweet. Cool.
So RSVP for our next event. And I think our next thing is a promotion for our annual subscription, guys. The promotion comes with a fix and flip workshop that we put together, and also the rental mastery workshop. And as you know, the recorded classes that we have with AJ, we're going to package up as a wholesale workshop as well. So just give us some time to process that, and we'll have those available for you. Cool. Thank you, guys. That's all we have. You can scan this QR code and take advantage of this promotion. We just got a couple more days left on the promotion. And thank you, AJ, again. And we look forward to having you back on our platform very soon.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. It was fun talking to you.
Appreciate it. Feel better soon.
Yeah. Thanks. See you guys.
Bye-bye.